Hi guys, good morning. It's good to see you guys again. What we're doing here is a ceramic piece. We're doing pottery ceramic, so I'm gonna teach you just the basic how you start when you're throwing on the potter's wheel. So we have a Brent's potter's wheel right here. It's a bit shaky, it's not fully steady, but it can do the job. So first thing you have to do is get your amount of clay that you need. This is about a pound, 2 pounds thereabouts, to throw. So you have to try to make a ball like the globe that is spinning on its axis. So the wheel acts like an axis point, and you determine the pace at which you can go by using the pedal right here on the side. You turn your switch on. It's electrically driven. We have a variety of products that we make here, but the most important thing that you have to make is a cylindrical shape. So that's the first obstacle that you have to get out of the way. Let me show you a cylindrical shape form before we even go forward. So here we have a cylinder, a cylindrical form, totally 3D. This is always your objective. Once you get this cylinder, you are good to go. But before you even get to the cylinder, you have to make sure, step one, you have the ball of clay. You try to put it in the middle of the potter's wheel, right? You have to make sure it is in the center to create balance so that the wheel doesn't wobble, right, and throw you off. But for starters, even if that happens, it's okay. You start again. It's like riding a bicycle. It will throw you down. However, this one won't throw you down. It will only get messy. But you do what? In order to get the joy of it, you start all over again until you get it right. And then the joy of riding that bicycle is similar to the joy of being able to manipulate this potter's wheel. Alright, so here we are. You keep your hands moist. You may need some form of sponge to keep softening the clay to the texture that you want it, so that it can move freely, slippery through your hands while you try to not say shape your cylindrical form up, because we're dealing with 3D. So I have my sponge, add my little water on it, keep it moisture. Alright, so I start, try to see if I can balance the clay, get it in the middle. And sometimes when you haven't done any of this, you lose practice. It's like math. You may lose your way a bit, but you have to get back into the groove, work yourself in till you get it right. So you squeeze into the clay, you're squeezing the clay, comes up like a plateau on a volcano. Alright, comes up like a plateau on a volcano, so it's no longer a ball. Really want to get it up, but you don't want it to detach from the wheel, so you try to press it back down to ensure that it doesn't detach from the wheel. To be honest with you, the contact point with the wheel and the clay, I can assure you it's a bit dry, so it sticks on, and based on the force that you stuck the ball of clay onto the potter's wheel, it stays on. As if it detached, you gotta have to start all over again. Alright, once you get it this way, you are starting to see the width of your product, your cylinder already. You want to make sure that you try as best as possible to be consistent. As I said before, this is not a brand new wheel, so can be a little bit wobbly. You have to try as best as possible to keep this in the center. Alright, so once you get it this height, you don't want, if you have to determine if it's a bowl, if it's a vase, if it's gonna be a tea mug, all of that you can decide even before or during the process. work with the clay, see what's happening with it. Alright, so we have gotten to a point now where we can start getting an opening inside of this container, this cylinder, this container to be. You want to put your thumb in the center of it, put pressure on it, and get it to the depth you want so far. Don't go too deep. You don't want the bottom to be too thin, the base of the container. Is while you're working on it to get up the cylinder. So you want to squeeze the clay, squeeze it to get the opening of the container. You squeeze the clay together. It's easy to manipulate. Keep your hands moist. You can start putting, it's getting wider. You can start putting all your fingers inside of the container and then squeeze towards it. Make sure it's going too fast. Start over. After you practice, you can throw any amount very quick. You want to keep it nice and clean while you're at it. So the sponge, you can also use it to help bring the cylinder up. So you want to pull it upwards. So while you're spinning, you're bringing it upwards to get your cylinder at a certain height. You squeeze to both sides, inside and outside. So you're squeezing it while it comes up. And then you start seeing the thickness of the container, which you don't want it to be thick based on the proportions. So immediately you can start seeing your form. And as I said before, you can decide. Oh, here we have our tool, our wooden tool that you can use to help straighten, to get the thickness of your container consistent. That is also very important, that you have a consistent thickness of the container. Makes it easier to dry out when firing. Gonna try to pull up, get more height out of it, make your container a little bit more spacious, have more capacity. Gonna continue pulling up, putting pressure on the inside. You can start to form your container whichever way you want it. Keep pulling up, get some more height. Kinda like to have a vase that is not consistent, with certain kind of organic look, not too geometric. So I'm gonna give it that kind of uneven top. I'm not gonna use this tool to cut off too much off the top of it, because you want consistency to an extent, but because it's gonna be an organic vase, I've decided now to make it into a vase. I'm gonna put a flare to it on the lip. I'm gonna make sure that keep inside of the container clean. also use this tool. It's a very flexible tool. You can use it inside to keep inside of it clean and the thickness of the vase consistent while you're keeping inside of it clean. Yeah, we are there. We're basically about there. Can bring it up just a little bit more. Alright, so I'm gonna start forming out the neck of my vase by squeezing in gradually. Like making these cute vase with the lip of it flare, uneven, having that organic feel to it, not too rigid in terms of the shape, fluidity, kind of organic. So I'm gonna give it a little bulge, with a little belly like. That way you give the inside of the container a little more room, more capacity. We're basically done. All we have to do is squeeze this in a little bit more to get, and if you want to flare it, you can put your fingers this way, press down on it a little bit. You can clean it up with your sponge now and remove it from the wheel. It's very easy. Very therapeutic. Here we have it. So you want to remove your container and then clean it up after it's gonna dry out a little bit. So you tend to move it. You have it. We have some types of vase that were done already, finished products. Different designs. Yep. This one is very interesting. This one was done traditionally with the weaving technique. Hope you enjoy watching. Until next time.